Damn, what is this Zen music? I don't know where this music came from, but it's real good. It's surprisingly soothing after what happened last night, I'm not going to lie. After discovering that Raina stood at my door for an hour and stared at me, talked to the police. I don't know how I'm gonna go to school. Am I going to school anymore? What even? Hey there guys, my name is Nix and welcome back to Higurashi, When They Cry, Chapter 1. I pretty much summed up what happened last time, other than the fact that Raina yelled at me in the streets because they know what I fucking did. They know what I did. And unfortunately, I think I know what they did, so I guess we're on even terms, but something tells me that these aren't even terms. Anyway, I'm gonna cut back to me for a brief second to read through a police report, and then we're gonna carry on. You know, I hate that I've come back and the creepy music's kicked in. This is just what I wanted to come back to. Anyway, got me a note from the police chief, which as I've hypothesized that these are just gonna be like stuff the police are doing from here on out, considering I think I know pretty much everything I need to know about Hinamizawa, unless there's more horrific shit down the line. Anyway. Sorry, mouse on screen. Get rid of that. Oh god, we've gone back in time. July 1st, 1982. To Departments 1 through 12. The Prefectural Police Headquarters. Director General... Who gives a shit? To the Chief Constable and all facility managers. Regarding cases situated in the Hinamizawa village. Notice. As cases in Shishibone City, Hinamizawa village have been reported by certain sections of mass media. It has drawn global attention, which is causing serious repercussions for the local residents. This has become a very serious problem. Well, they shouldn't have fucking murdered someone. To protect the livelihood and prosperity of the residents, the following notice has been issued. Number 1. Designate the following criminal investigations as classified. Okinomiya Station, 1982, case number... Hinamizawa Village, local housewife murder. Ah, that's the one that I looked at the record before and there wasn't anything on. Okinomiya Station, 1982, case number X. Hinamizawa Village, student disappearance. Yes, this was the Satoshi kid. 2. Non-disclosure of information. Okinomiya Station, 1979, case number X. Hinamizawa Village Site Foreman murder, dated June. Shira? Yeah, for some reason I wanted to call it Shinra, and I know exactly why I wanted to call it Shinra. Guess what I've been playing recently? Shira Station, 1980, case file X. Shirakara Natural Park falling incident. Okinomiya Station, 1981. Hinamizawa Village Shinto priest's wife's death. Or disappearance, technically. Requesting self-restraint from each organization concealing the release of sensitive information. Please see attached reference materials 1, 2, and 3. Management, and Prefecture Police Headquarters. Internal line, Police Affairs Department. Okay, so this is basically the police saying, don't talk about anything. In fact, don't even let the press talk about that last one. On one hand, I feel better that, like, the police had were involved in covering it up, but at the same time, really doesn't make it any better. Anyway, back to me in the future, who's probably fucking terrified of wanting to go on. Wow, me from the past really calling out the fact that I'm gonna be terrified of Raina from this point forward. It's because he's right. Anyway, weariness and a headache. Not a very nice way to start the day. What's wrong? Keiichi? You don't look so well. When did you go to sleep? It seemed that my mom had noticed my sullen state. She doesn't get a Sprite though, so who gives a shit? Yesterday I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. Yes, same! Without a doubt I felt a presence. I felt the presence of someone standing in front of my door. I told myself repeatedly that it was my imagination and forced myself to try and sleep. Except, not being able to stand it, I gathered up my courage and opened the door. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I did think this 3 times throughout the night. Or maybe I just don't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get the breakfast table without incident, I didn't feel at ease.
風邪かもしれない。
Might be a cold.
なんだか食欲ないんだ。
I don't really have an appetite.
あら、
My,
ちょっと熱あるんじゃない？
you do seem a little warm.
どうする？
Well,
学校行
can
け
you
る？
make it to school? Technically, I did go to a school, but it was mostly self-study. Wouldn't matter much if I missed a day, would it? It could have been that I hadn't been feeling well for the last few days because I really did have a cold. If I took some medicine and got a good day of rest, I might be able to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than when I usually met up with Reina. It was Reina.
レナちゃん迎えに来ちゃったけど、
Reina-chan came to get you. What are you gonna do?
お休みする？
Are you going to take the day off? Reina was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she's certainly cute. The lunches she made were delicious, and she always looked out for me. Why would I be so scared of something like that? It wasn't Reina's fault. It was probably mine. It had to have been the cold. It just had to be.
休む。
I'll rest. I'm sorry.
じゃあ母さんが断ってきてあげるわね。
Then I'll go send her off for you. Mom headed off to the door. I would have to pass by the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet with Reina, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep deprived I quickly fell into a deep slumber. I was about to say, like, the blackout was concerning. I just, after last time, I just feel permanently on edge, which is, like, a good feeling in the weirdest way possible. I'd only intended to lie down for a bit, but it was almost noon when I woke up. I called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table, I found lunch prepared and a note. Mum and Dad had apparently driven off to somewhere far away. It likely had to do with Dad's work. This happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. They would be back for dinner, but they might be a bit late. On the note it said, "The insurance card is in the cabinet, take it and go to the hospital." There was also a well-drawn map to the hospital. That's right. I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. I had a light lunch, although it really was just leftovers from the morning, and just in case, went to the hospital. Is that wise? Am I allowed to be outside? Normally, I'd never be here in the middle of a weekday. Just walking around like this had me feeling guilty. It was an odd feeling. Following my mum's map, I took a road I never usually used. And after walking for a bit, the hospital sign came into view. Irie? This is the kind of Japanese pronunciations I never know, when it's like 90% vowel. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm gonna go with Irai. Irie? No, Irie? Irie? Irie. I'm gonna go with Irie. Irie Clinic was written rather stylishly on the sign. The clinic wasn't very big, but based on the scale in the rest of Hinami's, it was far too grand. There was a parking lot and even reserved spots for buses. They must be making a mint. I was about to say what century are you from, and then I realized Keiichi's in 1983. I spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen.
前原さん、診察室へどうぞ。
Maibara-san, please make your way to the examination room. I approve of the tranquil music, but after half-heartedly answering all of the chatty doctor's questions, he responds with the old, "It's probably a cold." He gave me a shot and 3 days worth of medicine. I thought it was a little overboard, but if it would clear away the gloomy feeling I've been having lately, then it was worth it. I settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping. If it just wasn't for that word.
やっぱり鬼隠しかいね。
Must have been an Onikakashi.
どうかね。
I wonder.
まだまだ若い子だけや。
She was still pretty young.
駆け落ちかもしらない。
Might have just eloped.
どこの誰とよ。
With whom?
季節のたびに東京門が
A man from Tokyo who visits every season.
でっけえカメラ。
That young one with the big camera.
あれと仲が良きゃった
Didn't you know they were getting along pretty well?
知られへんの
Were they talking about Tomitake-san? I could feel my ears perking up.
そら知らんけど。
I don't know about that.
でも普通駆け落ちっても
You have to make preparations before you elope.
書き置きとか辞表とか
Leave a note or quit their job or something.
たらんかかんから駆け落ち言うんね。
It's an elopement because they didn't leave a note or message.
わきゃ看護師さんの顔。
The thought that I'll never see that young nurse's face again makes me rather sad.
高野さんはしっかり者よ。
Takano-san is an upstanding young woman.
どこへ行ってもやっていけ
She'll
ば
be fine wherever she goes. So her name was Takano-san. That woman with Tomitake-san. And she worked at this clinic? Oyashiro-sama's shadow was following me everywhere I went. I started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing and it didn't seem like they were going to revisit the topics, so I gave up and left. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from the Oyashiro-sama's shadow. But of course. Oyashiro-sama was the guardian deity of this place. Of Hinamizawa. As long as I was in Hinamizawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. Maybe it was because I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. I might as well buy a snack with the change from the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned onto a familiar street. At that moment, I heard a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far in the middle of the road where I'd be in a car's way? I moved further off to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around, peeved.
前原さ
Maibara-san!
ん、こんにちは。
Good day to you. It was Oishi-san. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast, the little snow particles falling out of the goddamn thing, and waved at me.
今日はどうしたんです
What's up today?
学校はお休みです。
School on break?
ちょっと体調悪かったんで
Just not feeling well, so I took the day off.
お昼を買って帰ろうとしてたところで
I was about to buy lunch and head home.
そりゃよかった。
Well, that's great.
実は私、
I'm just about to get lunch myself. Would you mind going together?
ああ、お体に触る
If you're not feeling up to it, then don't mind me. I was just going to lie down after going home anyway. And I didn't really have a cold.
地元の食堂だと嫌でしょ。
I expect you'd rather avoid using one of the local places.
町まで行きましょ
Let's go into town.
う。ちょっと走りますが、よろ
It's
し
a bit of a
く
drive, if that's alright.
私、
I know a
美味
pretty
し
good
いお
place.
店知ってるんですよ。
I've finally begun to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying things. Probably wanted to talk to me about stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Hinamizawa. It's like he's been on this job before. And he's been doing it many, many years. I went with Oishi-san, riding in his frigid car. It was almost as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie.
昨べは遅くまですみませんでしたね。
I'm sorry about calling you so late last night.
ご家族に怒られませ
Your
ん。
parents get angry at you. No, but Raina stood outside my fucking door for an hour and stared at me. That was creepy as fuck.
いえ
No. I recalled Raina, who had been listening to the phone conversation all that time, separated from me by just the door. Even now, in the brightness of the sunlight, the thought still creeped me out. With a big bump that jolted the car, the road connecting to the city changed from dirt to pavement. My head swiveled back with sudden realization. That's right. This was where Tomitake-san died.
富武さんの捜査は暗礁に
They've hit a snag on investigation regarding Tomitake-san. Oishi-san spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye.
自分の爪で喉をかき破るというこういう
They believed it was caused by hallucinogens, given how he was clawing out his own throat.
なかなかないらしいんです
But the drug that could have caused that to happen so suddenly is extremely hard to come by.
もちろん検視解剖も
Bear in mind, of course, that the autopsy was done with that premise in mind.
手がかりはやはり
And we didn't find any leads.
漫画なんかによくあるじゃないですか
You know that thing you see in comics all the time?
体内に取り込まれると分解したり
But
し
there's a
て
drug that doesn't leave any
証拠
traces
が
after
何
being
も残らないなん
consumed.
てそんな
ありますよ
It exists.
演歌作詞何でしたっけ
Oh, come on, I used to do chemistry. I shouldn't fall over this one. Cecine alcohol something or other. Yeah, cecine alcohol or something or other.
まあ、結構あります
It's pretty common.
でもですね富武さ
But
んの
you
よう
see,
な
there doesn't seem to have been any kind of drug that would cause Tomitake-san to react like that.
そうなんですよ
じゃあ警察は
Then
富武さんは叩いてし
you're
まって
saying
そういうんです
that
か
the police concluded that Tomitake-san just died from the curse. I couldn't help but feel that the police were fucking useless. I just wanted the idea of a curse to be disassociated from Tomitake-san's mysterious death. The fact that you've put it in mysterious death makes curse just a bit more feasible. I'm sorry, but
悔しいですが今のところ
unfortunately, that's just how it looks right now.
ですが死因
But
は
putting aside cause of death, without a doubt, he was surrounded by a group of people and taken a beating before he died.
たたりでなく
That was no curse, but an incident that unquestionably involved other humans. Well, that made me a bit relieved. I mean, on one hand, I guess, but yeah, still fucking group assaulted the man. It ain't great. We passed in front of a rather desolate, but still busier than Hinamizawa train station. The car pulled into a restaurant parking lot as I followed Oishi-san into the shop. Got it, I forgot what it was like to listen to this music. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. Of course, there wouldn't be any children here in the middle of the weekday.
夢ですタバコは
Two, please. I'll make do with non-smoking.
こちらへどうぞ
This way, please.
ご注文がお決まりになりましたら
When you're ready to order, please call me over. We were led by a peculiarly dressed waitress to our table. I sat with Oishi-san in the booth.
どうです
So what do you think?
このお店のウェイトレスさんの格好
Aren't the waitress's
可愛ら
outfits
し
here
いと思いま
cute?
せん
Should you be perving on waitresses at your age?
Eh?
Huh?
まあその
Well,
どうでしょうね
I guess.
このお店ねいっつも
The
大人気
shop's
なんで
always
す
quite busy.
お料理よりも
It's more about the waitresses than the food, you see.
あ
Uh-huh.
あ大石さん目がやらしいですよ
Oishi-san, you're leering.
うん
Mm-hmm.
そうですか
Am I really? Fucking hell, it's Daru in like not 50 years. It could be. I don't know how old he is. I'm assuming like mid to late 50s, maybe early 60s. I don't goddamn know. So 40 years from now. You know, I look at that price of what I'm assuming is a desert fucking Jesus Christ me. I'm looking at that price of what I'm assuming is cake for like 280 yen, and it makes me cry. Because I don't know what I can buy for fucking 280 yen. Give me a second, I'll run a quick conversion on that. That's not bad. Given the current economic climate, 280 yen comes out to about £1.98. I know most of you are American, give me a minute. $2.70. I think that says more about the state of the UK economics than anything else. Regardless of how the waitresses looked, the food was decent enough. Finishing our meals while talking about some inane topic, Oishi-san's after-meal cup of coffee arrived at the table. Yesterday we talked about Hinamizawa's past, didn't we? Yeah, that it was the village of man-eating demons or something like that. I didn't know much about it myself, so I asked my grandmother about it this morning. Oishi-san took out the notepad that was stuffed into his breast pocket. Turns out that Hinamizawa used to be called Onigafushi, the Demon's Abyss. I feel like I've heard that at least once already. I feel Onigafushi rings a bell because I thought that's what the chapter was originally called. That is quite the name though. Name's still around. It's what why the Shinto's brief wife drowned here is still called Onigafushi. That might be why. It said that depths to that swamp are connect to the realm of demons. Of course, nobody had told me anything about such an ominous swamp. And you see, it appears they were both feared and revered. A respect born from fear. I guess you could say it was kind of a deification. A village of inhuman creatures. Seems the demons were seinen, or mountain-dwelling mystics of the sort. Seinen? I think it might be seinen more than seinen. Villagers with incurable illnesses would be taken to Onigafushi to be healed, for example. Even if we're calling them demons, Tengu, long-nosed goblins, or seinen would be a more apt description. They don't seem like such terrible people, even if they were called demons. But they were still man-eating demons. According to stories my grandma told me, as payment for treating the son's illnesses, let us eat the mother who brought him here, was apparently how things went. The price of curing her son was herself? Well, that's unsettling. Of course, mother took her son and ran. And you see, all of the villagers of Onigafushi, the demons, chased, surrounded, and captured them. The entire village, apparently. That's quite a frightening thing to imagine. In the end, it seems that both mother and son were caught and eaten. In the end. Well, there's a problem with this story. Both witnesses in the story were eaten, so no one would be able to tell the tale. There are plenty of old fables like this. In contrast to the ghastly tale, Oishi-san laughed heartedly while sipping his coffee. But, well, there were quite a few other tales. The demons from Onigafushi band together and captured the prey. I recalled that Mion said all the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. I saw similarities with how the two, with how that part and about the unification overlapped. They always hunt down a single person, and they always choose who it was going to be beforehand. Sorry? Come again? That caught my attention. Oishi-san also appeared to be pondering what it meant. My grandmother told me that you must never interfere with the demon hunt.
家に閉じこもって布団をかぶ
You
って
should
ろ
just hole up in your house and hide under the covers, she said.
つまりどういうことですか？
So what does that mean?
獲物の人を助けたり
It
かくまったり
means
して
you
はい
mustn't
けない
ever help or protect the prey.
鬼の狩りを邪魔しない
As long as you don't disturb the demon's hunt, no harm will fall upon the villagers.
そういうルールなんだそうです
God, I wish I'd chosen an easier voice to do for Oishi, because this one is fucking killing me. It seems there's that kind of rule. Basically, don't help the victims. Pretend you didn't see the atrocities. In other
ルールを
words,
破ったらどうなるんです？
what happens if you break the rule?
さあ
Well,
何しろ人食い鬼ですからね
the man-eating demons after all. Many parts of that tale caught my attention. Parts of the story he told me overlap with his theory that the entire village was in on the crime. Even if it wasn't the whole village, it was conceivable that the villagers were hiding under the covers and leaving them to die when there's a group that was on their hunt, wasn't it? I didn't dare speak
じ
it.
ゃあ大石さんはやっぱり村ぐるみ
Then
もしく
Oishi-san,
は村人数人の
I
犯行
guess
だ
it
と見
looks
てるん
like
ですね。
either the entire village or a group of villagers perpetrating the crimes.
前原さんはどう思います
What do you think, Mabara-san?
ああすみません
Excuse me.
コーヒーのおかわりいいですか
Another cup of coffee, please. That's what I wanted to know. It seemed that we were both waiting for the other to say the last part. He waited for the waitress to finish pouring coffee before speaking.
去年サトシ君が失踪した頃から
Last year I had a nagging feeling when Satoshi-kun disappeared. Oishi muttered as he watched the milk swirling around in his coffee.
それでサトシさんのお友達つまり
So these friends,
前原さんのお
Satoshi-san,
友達グループの
meaning
皆
your
さん
group
も
of friends, my
ちょっ
Bara-san.
ぴりだけ
I had a bit.
本当にちょっぴりだけですよ
Really, just a little bit, okay?
調べさせてもらったんです
A background checking done against him. If Oishi-san had said this to me before, I would have gotten angry at him and called for calling my friends into question. But as I was now, I couldn't.
とてもつまらない話になります
This might sound pretty stupid.
前原さんがつまらないと感じたら
Mabara-san, if you feel it's pretty stupid, please say
終
so.
わりにしますので
I'll just stop. Oishi-san was wearing the most serious expression that I'd ever seen from him. It was as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. There were quite a few things I regretted hearing from Oishi-san, but none of them were as threatening as this. The little voice inside me was screaming like an alarm. Stop, Keiichi. This is probably the last one. I took a deep breath and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth.
お願いします。
Please. That was all I could utter. Oishi-san stared into my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he began.
1年目の事件の被害者は現場の監督さんだったんですが
The victim of the first year was an over.
園崎美音
The
さん
victim of the incident in the first year was the overseer.
ですよ
A few weeks prior, he had an altercation with Mion Sonozaki.
何度か
Multiple altercations. Oishi-san had said before that Mion had defied the dam project vehemently. Well, it wasn't hard to imagine how she'd be if she got worked up.
2年目の事件で誘致派の夫婦が事故に遭いましたよね
In the second year, that married couple who supported the project died in that accident, right?
現場にはお嬢さんも一緒
The
に
daughter was with them at the time.
それが北条
Her name is Satoko Hoshu-san. That's... okay. The pieces are starting to fall into place. Now, I think I put together the pieces that Rika had something to do with the Shinto priest. Just because she was the one with the Shinto gown during the Watanagashi doing the whole ritual thing.
え？
Huh?
サトコってサトコ？
Satoko, you meaning Satoko? Oishi-san's look told me that my voice was too loud. I realized it as well and quickly quieted down.
3年目には神主夫婦が亡くなられ
The
ましたよね
the Shinto priest and his wife who died in the third year. You see,
そのお嬢さんが
their daughter is Rika Furude-san.
リカちゃんが
Rika-chan was
4年目に亡くなった主婦はもうお分かり
housewife who died in the 4th year. You already know, don't you?
北条聡子さんの義理の
It was the step-on to Satoko Hoju-san.
当時は聡子さんはご両親を事故で
She was in her aunt and uncle's custody,
預けられて
and she had lost both the parents in the accident.
被害者宅に
She lived at the victim's house. I could tell my lips were getting dry. I didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I thought it was nothing but a bizarre incident, one that I could easily distance myself from. But clicking and clacking, it had snuck all the way to my feet.
ちなみに4年目に失踪した北条聡さんは
Ono disappeared from the 4th year, by the way.
実の兄
He was Satoko-san's older brother.
そのちょっと待ってください
Wait a second. Took everything I had to finally say that. I gulped down a glass of water and once again wiped my face with the napkin. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. But Oishi-san was relentless. Instead of waiting for me to finish sorting out my feelings, he started speaking again. The last of the things I shouldn't have heard.
被害者たちはなぜかあなたのお友達グループ
All the
に
victims seem to be connected to your group of friends.
偶然に決まってるじゃないですか
That has to be just a coincidence!
前原さん静かに静かに
Maibara-san, keep it down.
みんな見てますよ
Everyone's looking. Mion? Sakato? Rika-chan? So what if they're all connected? You're telling me all of my friends? Couldn't be. It just couldn't be. Oh, Reina's different, isn't she? Reina isn't connected with the victims at all.
竜宮レナさんは去年まで
Reina Ryuki was living in a suburb of Ibaraki Prefecture until last year.
まあ確かにいずれの被害者
Well,
とも
it's true that she
直接
hasn't
の
directly
面識は
met
あり
any
ま
of
せん
victims. He said it in a roundabout way. Is he saying she's also connected?
実は調べてみたら竜宮さんは引っ越しの少し
Actually, I
前
looked
に
into her.
学校で禁止
Before
処分を受け
Ryugyu-san
て
moved away to Inamizuwa, she was suspended from school.
なんでも学校中のガラスを割って
Seems she went through a
回った
school building and broke all the windows.
レナが
Reina did that?
学校中のガラスを割った
She broke all the windows at her school? The same spacey Reina had... Couldn't even imagine
3
it.
日間の謹慎が明けた後も
Seems that after a 3-day suspension, she didn't return to school.
その間に神経科に通院
She went to a neurologist and she was
何週間かの
diagnosed with...
間
Oh, Jesus
翻訳
Christ, here we
と
go.
医師によるカウンセリングを受けています
Dysautonomia? I'm gonna have a quick Google on that one. Give me a second. Autonomic dysfunction is a condition in where the autonomic nerve system, the ANS, does not work properly. This may affect functioning of the heart, bladder, intestines, sweat glands, pupils, and blood vessels. Well, that explains why her eyes look like they fucking did. ANS is the part of the nervous system that controls involuntarily body functions. Like heart rate, blood pressure, breathing, all that kind of shit. So basically she can't control her urges. Interesting. Where was I? Oh yeah, dysautonomia. She was given weeks of counselling and medication. Trying to press enter and I'm pressing my shift key instead. Almost got sticky keys. I wonder if it was something like a nervous breakdown. I heard that it happens to people who are really methodical or overly sensitive. Neither of those match Reina's easygoing personality.
でですねそのカウンセリングをした医師のカ
And
ル
in the
テに
counselor's medical
レナ
report,
さんの
all
会話内容が
recorded all the
記載されています
conversations he had with Reina-san.
その中に出てくるん
It
ですよ
showed up.
結構
And quite a bit at that.
何がです
What did? I pressed forward carelessly. There couldn't be anything more for me to regret. At least that's what I thought.
出てくるんですよ
She
お
mentioned
社様
the word Oyashiro-sama. Okay, this is... I'm sorry, I'm slipping into detective mode because this intrigues me because she wasn't from here. She lived elsewhere, and yet she still followed the believings of Oyashiro-sama. So, yeah, interesting. It felt like someone's stone-cold hand was caressing my back. Why? Why had Reina spoken of Oyashiro-sama before she'd even come to Hinamizawa? Seems that Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost appearing in her house every night, standing over a pillow and looking down at her. My mind froze. I couldn't process what I was being told. A while after that, she moved to Hinamizawa. Ah, that's right. She's not an outsider. Huh? According to the registry register, the Ryugyu family used to reside in Hinamizawa. They moved to Ibaraki just as Reina-san entered elementary school. My mind went completely blank. It was similar to the static you see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing and I lost all sense of comprehension. Abara-san, are you alright? Shall we stop? Those words brought me back. I couldn't let it end here. Now I know about Reina. Then, how about the last victim, Tomitaki-san? Who was he connected with? Irritated, I let out one final reprisal. All of them. Have you forgotten, my Bara-san? Didn't you all spend the night at that festival together quite merrily? Quite a few of the officers saw you enjoying yourselves. Now there was nothing I could respond with. I felt silence as my brain turned to mush. We should get going. Maibara-san, did you take your afternoon medicine? I completely forgot about the medicine I'd gotten today until Oishi-san said that. I got another glass of water and then we left the shop after I chugged it down. We got into the car and returned to Hinamizawa via the road. Never really paid attention when I was on my bike, but did cars normally shake this much? It was almost as if the road was desperately trying to tell me something. That big jolt from the difference in elevation on the road was where it changed from cement to dirt. I was certain that I heard Tomitaki-san scream. I sat in silence, just letting myself be shaken by the car. I'll drop you off at your house. You missed school because you were ill, correct? My apologies for the long conversation. Why did you talk to me? I blurted out the question. Really, just blurted it out. I didn't expect an answer. I did check with you first, didn't I? If we should stop. Not that! Why did you reach out to me? I understood quite well that Oishi-san was investigating this string of suspicious incidents. But why was he telling me all this? I knew nothing and I couldn't help. Everything Oishi-san spoke of was news to me. First of all, what could I, having just moved here, possibly know? By chance, if there was a reason for Oishi-san to reach out to me, then it would have to be that I was part of Mion's circle of friends who looked suspicious to Oishi-san. I'm retiring this year. I plan on moving away after retiring as my grandma wants. So while I'm still on the case, I want to bring the truth behind these incidents to light.
疑ってるんですよ
So,
ね
you suspect them, don't you, Oishi-san?
みんなを
All of them. Oishi-san didn't really give a response. It felt a little late, but I thought it was his way of showing a bit of consideration for my feelings.
これはこの道30年の勘です。
This is mostly my intuition from 30 years on this job.
前原さん、危ないのは
Maibara-san,
あなたなんです。
you're the one in danger. Huh? I wanted to reply with "That's absurd," but in my downtrodden state, I couldn't bring myself to say it.
私は今年で定年ですから、来年の
I'll be retiring this year, so I won't be at the Watanagashi next year.
だから今年
So I want to settle things. In other words, he was insinuating that on the next Watanagashi, I might be the victim.
所長からも注意を受けています。
I've been warned by the chief as well.
一連の事件は個々に解決しているから。
Each incident in this string of cases has been solved, so don't bring it up again. Or so I was told.
これは一種の圧力です。
This is the pressure that I'm facing.
圧力って何のですか
Pressure? From what?
ひなみ沢のだつきました。
Someone in Hinamizawa. Ah, we've arrived.
この辺でいいですか。
Is this fine? After some time, the car finally reached the path to my house. The clock read 2 p.m. I'm surprised that so little time had passed since we ate. It was hot outside of the car. The chirping of the Higurashi hurt my ears.
今日の話はすべて忘れてくださ
I
い。
won't mind if you forget everything I just told you today,
ですが、
but I'm
私は
still gonna
捜
keep
査を続けます
investigating.
お社様のたたりは
I'll end Oyashiro-sama's curse this year.
何かあったら連絡しろってことですか
So you're saying I should contact you if anything happens?
いいんですよ。
It's fine.
前原さんが
Just contact me when you feel you have to, Maibara-san.
だけでいいんです。
I wasn't collected enough to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying it.
ゆっくり休んでください。
Be sure to take it easy.
病気でお休みの時に
I'm sorry for throwing all this at you while you're taking the day off because you're sick. I didn't really give any sort of response.
私はいつでも
I'll always be on your side.
それだけは信じといてくださいよ。
If anything, believe me on that.
それじゃあ
I'll be off now. The tires crunched over the dirt road as the car made a U-turn and disappeared into a cloud of kicked-up dust. Felt like I was watching a boat only throw me a lifesaver in shark-infested waters before disappearing into the distance. That was the first time I thought Oishi-san was being unfair. Telling me I was going to be the next victim, then just saying to contact him if something happened. This wasn't a criminal investigation. He was fishing. And I was just the bait dangling off the line. Would the fish be the perpetrator? Or would it really just be Oyashiro-sama's curse? Either way, the bait would be swallowed whole.
畜生俺
Damn it.
死にたくない
I
よ
don't want to die. For some reason, I could do nothing but stare at the puddle of water left behind by the AC from the car. Well, shit really got heavy, didn't it? To be fair, like, I connected some of the dots. I didn't, because obviously they not mentioned that the people that fell over the handrail had a daughter. I didn't piece together that it was probably Satoko. If they had, I might have. I don't know. In hindsight, it makes sense. We're a right group around these parts, aren't we? I wonder how much time had passed since I laid down. It was getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. It would probably be a good idea to change my sheets. At that moment, the phone downstairs rang. It was probably Mom. Mom was quite the worrywart. Maybe she'd called many times, but I just didn't notice it.
もしもし前原ですけど
Hello, this is the Maibara residence.
お、生きてた。
Oh,
もし
oh Christ, no. The cult's here. Oh, good, he's alive. What up?
イオンだけど
This is Mion.
具合はどう
How you doing?
圭一のお友達ですか、
Is this one of Keiichi's friends?
圭一は休んでますけど
Keiichi's resting now, but
変わりましょうか
should I put him on? Huh?
お父様で
Is this his dad?
あ
Sorry. Ah, you fucking fell for it.
バカで
Idiot.
引っかかってやがるよ
You fell for it. Huh?
姉ちゃん
I'm gonna fucking murder you, Kei-chan! Oh, I know you are. After our exchange, we both had a good laugh together. Except as I was suspicious of her even as we were laughing. Was everyone really involved in these incidents? The fact I couldn't say no saddened me.
元気そうで安心したよ
I'm relieved to see that you seem well.
レナもすっごく心配して
Raina was really worried, you know.
サトコはざまあないですか
Satoko was pretty happy when you said you got what you deserved.
リカちゃんは病気でかわいそう
Rika-chan said how unfortunate he's sick.
チェみんなで勝手に大
Looks
盛
like
り上
everyone
が
was
りしてた
making
み
a
たい
big
だな
deal about it.
まあまあでさ
Well, you know. So, Kei-chan,
お見舞いに行っちゃ都合悪いかな
it's now about time to come pay you a visit.
お見舞い
A visit?
いいよそんな
Nah, it's okay. It's not like I'm dying. Lovely choice of words.
うちのバッチャが山ほどおはぎを作
My
る
grandma made me a ton of mochi, you see.
お裾分けに持ってけって言って
I was told to share them.
だから持ってくね
So I'll bring you some.
おいおい風が打つ
Hey now, you'll catch my cold.
おじさんもレナもおバカさんだから大丈夫
Not to worry, both Rainer and I are too stupid to catch cold.
じゃあね
See ya.
すぐ行くから
Be there in a bit. She hung up cheerfully. Raina's coming too? That's what it sounded like. I was still concerned about meeting Raina, but I guess if she was with me on... Nothing too horrific could happen, right? Right? I heard the doorbell 10 minutes later.
どんな感じ
How you feeling?
ちゃんと薬飲んで寝てた
Take your medicine and rest?
そりゃもうしっかりとな
I did just that.
元気そうでよかった
God, after doing Oishi-san's voice, it's gonna be a difficult one to switch into fucking Raina. Give me a minute. My goodness, you look well. I was worried.
悪かったな
Sorry.
明日にはもう
I'll be
大丈夫だ
fine by tomorrow. Mion showed a complete lack of concern for someone who's recovering, and Raina looked like she was worried about me from the bottom of her heart. Didn't look like there was anything behind those expressions.
ちょっとお邪魔しようかと思ったけどまだ本調
I
子じゃ
thought we
ない
might
み
be
たいだ
hang
ね
out for a bit, but it looks like you're not quite in the condition for it.
そうか
Hmm? You don't say. It seems my face appeared a bit sullen.
じゃあこれケイチ
Yeah, Keiji-kun.
くんみーちゃんのおばあちゃんが作って
These are the mochi Mi-chan's grandma made. Raina held out a package wrapped in newspaper. There might be about 5 in here. It was quite hefty.
あサンキューな
Ah,
ミオの
thanks.
ばあちゃんによろし
Send
く
my
伝えて
regards
お
to
いて
your
よ
grandma, Mion.
その中にね
There's
レ
one
ナ
that
が
I
作っ
made
て
in
る
there
の混
as
じってる
well.
んだよケイチくんに見つけられるか
I
な
wonder if Keiji-kun can guess which one.
これ今日の部活を欠席し
This
た
is
ケイちゃん
Kei-chan's
の
homework
宿
since
題
he
ね
missed the club meeting today.
おはぎにアルファベットがついてるから
There are letters on each mochi, so I'll ask you tomorrow.
お見舞いなのか部活なのか
Were you checking if I was feeling better or did you just come here for some club activities?
元気元気
Yep, yeah, you're looking fine. Guess we'll be able to make it tomorrow.
この騒ぎで熱がぶり返したら
What are you gonna do if my fever comes back because of your shenanigans?
みーちゃんあんまり騒いで悪いよ
We shouldn't be making such a racket.
もう行こ
Let's go.
うお家の人にも怒られるよ
The other people here will be angry. Both of them thought my parents were home. It was because the entryway was a mess.
そうだねもう行こうか
You're
ね
right. Let's get going.
そうそうケイちゃ
Ah,
ん
by the way, Kei-chan.
なんだよ
Yeah?
お昼何食べた
Don't you fucking start with this as well, Mion. I almost had a heart attack. What did you eat for lunch? The sudden question startled me, and I went wide-eyed when I saw Mion. She got the same dead behind the eyes expression that Reina had the other day. I'd never seen her like that. It was a highly unsettling visage. But why is she asking me about what I ate for lunch? What she said was so inane that it was almost meaningless. The way she said it, almost like she didn't even care at all about what I ate.
表で食べたよ。
I ate out. She must have suspected that I was with Oishi-san. Anyway, I felt that if I hesitated or tried to change the subject, then they'd read too deep into it, so I tried answering as quickly as possible. Except, contrary to the efforts I made, there was a pause before they replied.
ケイチくん、お昼は会食だったんだね。
It was bad enough when one of you was doing this. Now I just feel some kind of violated. The glimmer from Reina's eyes had changed at some point as well. It was now sharp, as if to make me feel the feigned ignorance behind her words even more. As if she already knew. That's how it looked to me.
どう？美味しかった？
Was it good?
なんでそんなことを聞くんだよ。
Why are you asking me this? Mion was speaking in an unusually low tone. Almost as if she knew that I'd eaten at the restaurant in town. Nah, I'm overthinking that. I mean, both of them should have been in school at lunchtime. There was no way they could have known where I was.
渋いおじさまとご一緒だったみたいだけど。誰？
I hate it when the music cuts out. I'm always about to have a heart attack. Seems like you were with a rather... What the fuck is that word? A stare. Okay. Seems like you were with a rather austere-looking old guy. Who was he? The package with the mochi I was holding slipped out of my hands. I could tell the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale.
へえ。
Huh?
ケイチくん、
Keiichi-kun,
So
who
誰?
was he?
ひょっとしてこ
Could it
の
be for
間
the
の
person
人
from
か
before,
な
I wonder?
かな。
I wonder. I could feel the back of my throat going dry. This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything?
なんで
How?
そんなこと
How do you know that? It took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking.
さーてね。
Because
おじさんにわからないことはない
there's
からね
nothing this old man doesn't know. Mion sneered knowingly, and their laugh seemed to carry on forever.
で、ケイちゃん。
So, Kei-chan, what did you
何
talk
のお
about?
話をしてたの？ずいぶんと熱く
It
なって
seemed
た
like
み
you
たい
got
だ
pretty
けど
worked up over it too.
みんなの話はしてないよ。
We weren't talking about you guys.
ミオンともレナとも関
It
係
didn't
ない。
have anything to do with you or Reina.
ふん。
That fucking smile. It's worse when she smiles. I hate it. I hate everything about it.
聞いてもないのにレナたちの名前が出るなんて。
It's a little bit strange to hear our names coming up even though nobody asked about it. Reina's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside me. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much it felt like I was going to explode.
ま、何を隠れてやろうとも、
Well, whatever you're trying to hide, this old man already sees through it all.
それだけを忘れないでくれればいい
Remember
か
that.
な。
I couldn't even shake my head. It took everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze break from mine, even as she tilted her head slightly.
ケイチくん、顔色悪い
you
よ。
don't look so good.
もう横になった方がい
I
い
think you
と
should
思う
lie
よ。
down.
そうだね。私た
That's
ちはもう
true.
帰ろう。
We should both head back home. As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I had dropped the package of mochi. As they left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare. As if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as the door was just about closed, it opened again slightly with a sudden creak, sending my heart racing once again. Could we not with the fucking nails down the chalkboard sound? A single eye pierced through its narrow slit, as Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again.
じゃあねケイちゃん
See ya, Kei-chan. I pressed the wrong thing. I pressed spacebar instead of enter. Yeah.
明日学校休んじゃ
I'd hate
Yeah,
it if
they-
you missed school tomorrow, alright? And there goes the door. The door had closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle even after their low laughter died off in the distance and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew what Oishi-san and I talked about. Hey, to be fair, you dropped that one in on yourself. Why? How? No, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all of it could have been heard. From the beginning when Oishi-san met me. Just as Mion had said, I couldn't hide anything. Then, what were they trying to tell me? That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked with Oishi-san about one thing. And they were warning me that was unnecessary. What was it that Oishi-san talked to me about? The incidents involving Oishiro-sama's curse that occurred every year weren't individual cases. But they were connected as a whole. As well as the fact that there have been multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamizawa. No, more precisely, that Mion, Reina, Sakoto, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. Is that what they were warning me? Is that what they are warning me against?
何バカなこと考えてんだよ俺
What kind of nonsense am I thinking about? I hit my own face hard enough that it let out a slap. If only that would wake me from this nightmare. But for some reason it felt like I was punching a blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. When did I become such a pessimist? Calm down. Calm down. Settle down and sort things out. The reason Mion knew I was eating lunch with Oishi-san was probably because somebody from Hinamizawa just happened to be there at the time. They must have told Mion that I was there. That made the most sense. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good? They were just curious since I was together with someone not from Hinamizawa. It's not as if they had any ulterior motives. That's it. That has to be it. Thinking about it in that way was the same with Reina. I was just being strangely ambiguous when I met with Oishi-san, and Reina was just correcting me on that. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character from the usual mild-mannered Reina and was just startled by it. That was the most natural way of thinking about it. I felt like my mind was being mixed up like a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red marinara sauce would have poured out of my nose and ears if you'd squeezed my head. That's called blood, Keiichi. I hate to be that guy, but that's called blood. You have an issue at that point. Go see a doctor again. Thinking that, I'd suddenly felt like vomiting. I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think they're a bunch of good people. When I just moved here and couldn't make heads or tails of everything, they really were kind to me. Reina was really kind and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, it was pretty cute. Mion is also a really good person. She didn't really care about anyone's age or gender and was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. And talking of not getting bored, Rambunctious Satoko was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean she was always silent. They're my friends! But after hearing the better untold secrets of Hinamizuwa from Oishi-san and Tomitake-san, and when I was told about Oyashiro-sama's curse, things started going crazy. The hearing from Oishi-san that Mion, Reina, Sakoto, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. After that, everyone had changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Oishi-san told me all that strange stuff. At that time, I really should have just not listened to those weird stories. I shouldn't even have asked Tomitake-san about the past incidents on the night of the Watanagashi. If I just gotten that strange sense of curiosity. If I just hadn't. That's right. So that's why they... Okay, I know that's meant to say killed, but because I'm from the era I am, I read that as, oh, so that's why they fucked Tomitake-san. That impudent outsider speaking to the likes of me, everyone went out of their way to keep a secret from me. They'll probably kill Oishi-san as well. For trying to unearth what everyone was warning me better left unburied. Besides that, he was unforgivable for spewing words that made me doubt the others. Of course a guy like that is going to be killed. Both Tomitake-san and Oishi-san were nothing but outsiders after all. I still wish they'd stop censoring the word killed and just... because I still keep reading it as fucked. They were entities who couldn't coexist with the people of Hinamizuwa. Those guys who just fall to Oyashiro-sama's curse and just die. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault. Okay, I think I'm going a little mad. Please, someone, send help. I settled into a daze. It was a lethargic feeling, like I'd just gotten up, but the ominous chill that had haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I had completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow, right as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in the club activities. It'll definitely be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them after all.
そうだ。おはぎ食べないと。
Ah, that reminds me, I need to eat those mochi.
どれがレナの手作りか。
I hope I'm able to tell which one Reina made. I remember the homework the two of them brought me when they visited. Wow, our club did delivery. That was something else. I picked up the package I dropped on the floor and headed into the living room. It would be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it. Fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh, this was quite a delectable situation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5 plumps of red bean paste mochis fitting snugly inside. There were letters from left to right on the newspaper. A, B, C, D, and E. Now then, it said Reina made one of these. I wonder which one. There wasn't much difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The biggest difference was probably their shape. I wasn't sure what kind of person Mion's grandma was, but Reina's had to be different from hers. Looking very carefully, I could see that one mochi was made very neatly. So, well, that just by staring at it, one could tell it stood out.
この1個がレナのか否かが。
Looks like the challenge depends on whether or not this one is Reina's. Calm down and think even harder. Mion said her grandma made a ton of them and was told to give some out, if I remember correctly. That meant 4 of these were from a large batch. And what about Reina? She probably only made one. So she's probably spent quite a bit of time on it. Meaning, the one Reina had made was this one. E. For a moment I thought it might have been a trap Mion laid, as she knew I'd pick up on it, but that probably wasn't the case. I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mion had made it, but since Reina had made it, it probably wasn't a trap. Alright,
もう準備 OK。
now my tea's ready
ま
too.
ずはディフェンディングチャンピオンの
I'll start with
ミオ
the
ンのばあちゃん
defending
からだ。
champ, Mion's grandma.
どれ？
Let's see. Not bad. Smooth bean paste and soft, chewy texture left little to be desired. The tea I drank afterwards also accentuated the experience. This was an exquisite piece of work. Now, how about Reina's? The creation was so delicate one would think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion. But, well, first a bite. This was quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, so there was little difference in flavour. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so it was to be expected. So the deciding factors would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Reina the challenger, with a size you just couldn't get enough of. I'd only had one bite of Reina's. I'd probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset. Seems like my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. It didn't feel like something edible, so I reached in with my fingers and grabbed it. I don't like it when the bone-chilling music kicks in. Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. It slammed against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. Then after sticking for a moment, it slid down to the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Reina would have gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hand that performed such a vile act. And then I remembered what I'd taken out of my mouth. At first, I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Mion's, Reina's hair was still quite long. And it wasn't this short. It was also a bit too hard to be hair. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. There was a bit of a metallic sheen on one end of it. Ah, yes. There was a hole for where the Oh, fucking hell. I nearly swallowed a fucking needle! Like a sewing needle. Yeah, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well. Quite sharply. It really did just look like a sewing needle. Huh? What did I mean very much looked like a sewing needle just a bit ago? I couldn't answer. But a voice inside me already knew. And let me know by the chattering of my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside me. Suddenly I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain at the back of my throat. I stuck a finger in the back of my mouth and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly I felt the urge to vomit. The sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth, and after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. Hindsight, you probably should have thrown up. It was probably the best way to dislodge whatever might or may not be stuck there. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was throbbing intensely. Then it finally registered. Exactly what was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of the correct words, my hands were already on the move. I tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. You could have, like, not done that. You could have just, like, gone through it like a normal human being and, you know, not ruined your family's wall. Oh, am I the judge? The geometrical patterns of the scattered bean jam on the wall suddenly invoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out to the hall and flew upstairs to my room, where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. This wasn't a threat, or a warning, or a reminder. Nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hinamizawa? What is happening in Hinamizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. When did I break the taboo? Regardless, now Reina and Mion and the others, they consider me an enemy. And they thought I should just die. I won't let you kill me. Not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing, bottomless swamp. I thought I heard, like, mild knocking just then, but could be wrong. In fact, I'm hoping I'm wrong. That last one really don't fill me with confidence. Ha ha, funny game. Very funny game. You just gave me an achievement called Hard to Swallow. I just tried to swallow a fucking needle and you're poking fun at me. Anyway, thank you all for watching this episode of Higurashi. I don't know how much there is left, but it's starting to ramp up and the fear is getting real. I should probably check all my food from here on out. Anyway, if you like the video in any capacity, please feel free to give the video a like down below. Leave a comment on whatever you feel like at this point. And if you want to keep up to date with whenever I post other videos, be they of this or... okay, just this. There probably might be something starting later down the line, but I keep saying that and then shit happens and it never ends up actually starting. I promise one day something else will happen. Otherwise, I'll be playing Higurashi for the next 2 fucking years. But yeah... as I was saying, if you want to keep up to date with whenever I post anything, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. In theory, YouTube sends you alerts as to when I post videos, but I think you need to press the bell icon as well for that these days, so really all pressing the subscribe button does is you made me feel good about myself. And believe me, I need that right about now. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I've been Nyx, and I'll see you all in the next one. Laters!